West Indies women concluded their match prep for the T20 World Cup with a 4-wicket victory over Sri Lanka women in Cape Town, South Africa, earlier on Wednesday. The Windies women first dismissed the Sri Lankans for 107, with captain Hayley Matthews getting 3 for 17 and Karishma Ramharak and Afi Fletcher picking up 2 wickets each. The Windies then crawled to 111 for 6 to win with 2 balls to spare. Matthews returned with the bat to score an even 50, with Shabika Gajnabi adding 15. So, Ricardo and Lance, of course, I'm very happy to be talking about a Windies woman win. And of course, it was a very, very comprehensive win. And I have to say, my sister has been struggling for some time, and I hope she doesn't hear the show. I think so. And I'm just really happy to see her getting among the wickets.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see the West Indies women winning, because it has been a few matches now. We lost to New Zealand, lost to England, lost to South Africa and India in the Tri-Series. And we also lost to New Zealand in our first warm-up match. And in that New Zealand match, failing to score over 100. So this was an important victory for the confidence of the West Indies women. Sri Lanka is one of the lower-ranked teams. And so coming into this match, they would have identified it as almost a must-win going into the World Cup, because if you're unable to beat the Sri Lankans, then you know you're in some serious trouble going into the World Cup. Hayley Matthews getting some runs, important for me. Also important to have Hayley Matthews at the top of the order, because I cannot understand, Lance and Mariah, why your best batter would be batting at number 5 and number 6 and coming in with 10 and 8 and 7 overs to go. In T20 cricket, for me, especially because Hayley Matthews is so much better than every other batter in this West Indies women's side, she should always be opening the batting. It's a positive move, it's an aggressive move, and I think that's the move that will get the West Indies women more success. If she's down at 5 or 6, I think it's always going to be a struggle for the team.
Yeah, and the fact is they were on a 12-game winless run. So going into their opening game on the weekend against England, who are pretty strong in Group B, this is a welcome result. And I agree with you, Ricardo, regarding Hayley Matthews and her positioning at the top and how she can take charge there. We anxiously await the fitness report on Stafanie Taylor, because they need her to join up with Hayley Matthews to try to boost the batting that we see there. Karishma Ramharak, Mariah's sister, 2 for 13 off 3 overs today. Only Afi Fletcher and Hayley Matthews had better economy rates than Karishma did. Karishma is a very tight bowler. She bowls a very tight line and length. I like that about her. She tends to be very economical. And even while there are games when she may not get wickets, she's not the kind of bowler that you score easily against. And I'm happy to see her effort today. And as we said, a good result going into their opener.
Yeah, exactly what they needed. Well, the regional women's batting performance in the warm-up matches leads to a bigger discussion on the team's recent batting woes. The discussion surrounds 2 players, Stafanie Taylor and Deandra Dottin, who both made their West Indies senior team debut in the summer of 2008. Since then, the pair has been integral to the Caribbean team's success with the bat. It will come as no surprise that Dottin and Taylor are responsible for a high percentage of the runs scored by the West Indies in both T20 and one-day internationals. But just how reliant has the team been on the two? Gerard Morris-Seeley breaks down the numbers.
Stafanie Taylor and Deandra Dottin made their West Indies ODI debuts on June 24, 2008 against Ireland. Their maiden T20 appearances happened 3 days later against the same opponent. The two have formed an amazing combination, a combination that has been at the center of much of the West Indies women's success, especially with the bat. But just how important have they been to the West Indies cause? The West Indies women have played 165 one-day internationals between June 23, 2008 and December 2022, accumulating 25,024 runs in 492 innings. That's the lowest number of runs scored by any of the world's top 6 nations, with England, Australia, and New Zealand topping the list. 50 players wore maroon during that time. The West Indies women are also down the list of runs in T20 cricket. In the same period, 46 players accumulated 15,576 runs in 204 innings. South Africa is the only top 6 nation to have scored fewer runs in that period. However, despite the struggles of the overall team, Taylor and Dottin have stood tall. The Jamaican was the best batter during the 14-year period in ODIs, topping the list with 5,367 runs ahead of New Zealand's Susie Bates and India's Mitali Raj, while Dottin was 6th with 3,727 behind Aussie Meg Lannon and Amy Satterthwaite from New Zealand. Taylor dropped to 3rd on the T20 list, not far behind Bates and Lannon with 3,121 runs. Dottin remained 6th with 2,681 runs, with Sophie Devine of New Zealand and India's Harmanpreet Kaur jumping ahead. Taylor leads the batters globally in white ball cricket with 8,488 runs, while Dottin rounded out the top 5 with 6,408. Here is where the numbers get more interesting. As a combination, they are only bettered by the New Zealand pair of Susie Bates and Amy Satterthwaite in ODI cricket, while no other 2 batters are better in T20s. Taylor and Dottin combined as the best scorers in the team for 9,094 runs in ODIs. That's 36.34% of the team's accumulated total, including games they did not play. Taylor and Dottin have the highest scoring percentage of the best pairs among the top 6 nations, with Bates and Satterthwaite coming closest, scoring 33.28% of their country's runs. India is the only other country over 30%, with 31.70. What's staggering is Taylor and Dottin's 36.34% goes as high as 40% when only calculating the games they played. They also lead in T20s with the scoring percentage going up to 37.24. They combined for 5,802 runs. New Zealand's Bates and Satterthwaite is the only pair to score a higher percentage of their team's runs in this format, scoring 39.23% of their team's runs. That's 1.09 more than Dottin and Taylor. India are closest to the Windies with 30.09%. All other peers are under 30%. Dottin shockingly announced her retirement last August, while Taylor played her last match in September. She has been selected for the upcoming T20 World Cup, but there are still questions around her fitness and form. Given these numbers and the attending circumstances, how concerned should we be about the future of West Indies women's batting and, by extension, the ability of our women to challenge the best in the world? Let's discuss.
So team, we have a problem here because, as we know, Stafanie Taylor, she's awaiting clearance regarding her injury, and Deandra Dottin has stepped away.
Well, the first thing is that Deandra Dottin retiring at 31, hugely disappointing for the West Indies as far as the team prospects would be concerned, because 31 is not the kind of age that most cricketers retire at. And it's obvious that Deandra Dottin is still a world-class player. We saw her in the women's Big Bash, leading the Adelaide Strikers to the Big Bash title in Australia. And she was the star performer in the final with 52 not out of 30-odd balls. Just advertising a couple of months ago that she is in as good a shape in her career as she has ever been. So her departure from international cricket for the West Indies is a horrible, horrible, horrible development. Stafanie Taylor is also 31 years old, and even though her performances would have declined over the past few years, she still remains a high-quality player that the West Indies needs.
Yeah, for me, those numbers are important, especially in the context of what has been happened with the West Indies women's team lately, where you look at our T20 matches where we've consistently struggled to score over 100 runs. And you would like to think that at this level, against the top team, scoring over 100 is not even bare minimum, because the best teams in the world, Australia, New Zealand, India, England, can consistently score 150 or more. Even South Africa, we have seen lately that they have shown that they can put together big totals. So what is happening now? If you think that for 14 years, Stafanie Taylor and Deandra Dottin have scored well over 30% of the West Indies runs in both T20 and one-day international cricket, and the West Indies were still down the pecking order in terms of comparison to the other teams, then without those two, we are in serious, serious trouble. And that's the situation we find ourselves in. And my thing is, I'm not sure how much we can expect from this West Indies women's team and the batting lineup, especially in the short term, given everything that we've just outlined.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, that's why game after game, when we discuss the Windies, we always have to talk about the batting order. However, we do know that they've included some youngsters. They didn't fire today, but, we're looking forward to see how they do.
Stay with SportsMax on YouTube and follow us on all social pages for updates, news and entertainment.